الأب رفيق زكريا سياسي محسوب على حزب المؤتمر، الأم فاطمة زكريا صحفية. هل قصة فريد زكريا اليوم كصحفي وكسياسي هي امتداد لقصة الأبوين أم أنها قصة جديدة؟
I think it's in many ways an interesting kind of continuation, because you're right, my father was a politician, my mother was a journalist, and I occupy an unusual world. I am a journalist, but I'm a commentator, I'm an analyst, I talk to a lot of politicians. For me, the biggest continuation is this. My father was, for him, his Muslim identity was absolutely at the center of his political identity. My father once told me that he made the most important political choice in his life when he was 14 or 15 years old. Why? He was born in 1920. So in the middle of the 1930s, India faced, the people who were struggling for Indian independence from the British faced two choices. There was Muhammad Ali Jinnah, who was offering an Islamic political path, saying we must have our own Muslim country. And there was Nehru and Gandhi saying, no, we want a country in which everybody can live, Muslims, Hindus, Pakistan or India, exactly. And he chose India. And so it was very important to him to maintain the rights of Muslims, the opportunities of Muslims within this larger democratic framework. And his whole life, in many ways, was devoted to that. He got a PhD in London University. It was about Muslims in India. He wrote books, there was always about that. He was very interested, by the way, in the Arab world. He was the president of the Indo-Arab Society for about 25, 30 years. As a result, by the way, I met lots of very famous Arab leaders, because they would come to our house for dinners often. So from a very young age, I saw that you know, how he mixed his writing, his politics. So in a sense, my career, even though I have different interests than he has, it was motivated by that same idea that politics matters, getting the politics right, you know, moving in the right direction makes a big difference, and you should try and work to push your country, push society in the right direction.
هذا الحديث عن والدك وبحكم أنه عنده رؤية وباحث إسلامي يجعلني أسألك ما موقع الدين اليوم في حياة فريد زكريا الذي ينحدر من سلالة عائلة مسلمة.
I am not very religious, I have to admit. When I grew up, I was, you know, I went to Eid prayers every year. Of course, we've celebrated the Eids, but we were more culturally Muslim than we were religiously Muslim. Even my father, he would go to Jummah prayers sometimes, but not every week. But he felt very deeply his identity. And I think I took that cultural sense and sensibility from him. So I still have enormous affection for the world of Islam, for the culture of Islam. I grew up, you know, with the poetry and the music of, you know, India. Islam in India is a very particular mixture of, you know, the Sufism and all of that. So I still have enormous affection, and you know, it can stir me, and there's things about it I find deeply admirable. When we'd go for Eid prayers, my father would always point out to me how everyone had to be in the same line, and it didn't matter whether you were rich or poor, whether you were, you know, the leader or an ordinary person. Everybody was on the same line. That the person who would lead the prayers, the person who would say the azan, was not a priest, you know, because we were Sunnis. So it was always the idea that everyone has the same relationship to God. And I always thought that that was a very powerful idea. So the ideas still mean a lot to me. But I think I would be misleading if I were to say that I'm a religious person. I'm not.